All right, folks, in the lead up, I spoke to Trita Parsi about, about an hour ago. And we're going to have him back on relatively soon, timing it more or less with with what Trump ultimately decides to do. Because I still think that people don't have a full appreciation of what the deal with Iran does and what the terms were entering into it in terms of what the United States was trying to achieve and why it was so important. And with all that said, here is Secretary of Defense Mattis, who is talking about the deal, and he is testifying in front of a Senate, I believe. I don't know if it's the Defense Committee. This was, 4 or 5 days ago. And he talks about reading the deal and that its provisions for keeping Iran honest are extensive.
Right. Well, we all recognize the JCPOA was an imperfect arms control agreement.
And was not supported by the Congress.
Yes, sir. I understand, Senator. And I think that their use of denial and deception to hide their nuclear weapons program, not their nuclear program, their nuclear weapons program over many years, have them in a position of being suspect. I've read it now 3 times, all 156 pages or whatever it is, including, since I got into this job, I was able to read the short classified protocol. And I will say that it is written almost with an assumption that Iran would try to cheat. So the verification, what is in there, is actually pretty robust as far as our intrusive ability to get in, IAEA to get in, that sort of thing.
So, all right, he's talking about the JCPA is the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, like I say, signed by all 5 members of the permanent members of the UN Security Council, and I think all the members of the European Union, and you have our Secretary of Defense, maybe on the way out, who knows, but saying, look, and I think he plays up like there was definitely a reason to not trust Iran in this instance. And the document is built in such a way that it enters into this agreement without any naivete.
And let me just say real quick, Mattis is a very anti-Iran guy going back to Iraq. So I don't think it's all just even his sense of strategy. He personally loathes the place, but facts are facts in this case.
I'll add, while we're doing this, I also think that Mattis realizes, we don't have any other option. Here is the guy who is quite aware of the limitations of the U.S. military. And I think he realizes, we don't have an option here. A U.S. invasion or attempt to destroy or destabilize Iran, there's just no military solution to this. So that's where we are on the U.S. side. Now, however, in addition to Saudi Arabia, Israel has a huge, investment, one could say, in the United States scrapping this deal and then going to the next step, which is ostensibly to bomb Iran. Saudi Arabia, of course, the other major player in the region that has a similar investment. And so what do you do if you are the leader of, or the prime minister, I should say, of Israel? Donald Trump is either made this decision and needs help selling the decision to scrap the deal, or you have a audience of one and you want to try and convince him to scrap the deal. What do? Well, you give a little a TED talk with complete with slides and props, and Bibi Netanyahu delivers. He has just basically said the Iranians have said for years that they don't have a nuclear weapons program. However,
Iran lied. Big time. After signing the nuclear deal in 2015, Iran intensified its efforts to hide its secret nuclear files. In 2017, Iran moved its nuclear weapons files to a highly secret location in Tehran. A few weeks ago...
Pause it for 1 second. I just want you to say, know that there's no one in this office, maybe it would take a couple hours, who couldn't come up with the exact same slides and headlines above there. This is... so all I would say at this point as watching the presentation, not that dramatic. We need a little more drama, BB.
A few weeks ago, in a great intelligence achievement, Israel obtained half a ton of the material inside these vaults. And here's what we got. 55,000 pages. Another 55,000 files on 183 CDs. Everything you're about to see is an exact copy of the original Iranian material. First, Iran lied about never having a nuclear weapons program. 100,000 secret files prove that they lied. Second, even after the deal, Iran continued to preserve and expand its nuclear weapons know-how for future use.
There we
So
go.
wait, he's
We're going to have to
admitting
take
that they
a
actually
break.
dismantled it pursuant on the deal.
His
interesting.
argument, and even in the context of this presentation, he doesn't make any claim that anything is ongoing. It's just that they found
No,
these
it's all
documents.
historical.
So that is the backdrop of why we brought on Trita Parsi today to discuss that a presentation. And let's just say that presentation, it seems to me, has been widely criticized, like across the board, as far as I can tell at this point. I mean, we need a little more time, but if this was indeed used as some type of mechanism to sell the U.S. to drop out of the Iran deal, I don't think it did very well.
It was definitely aimed at Trump, though, with the big time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
and with the music.
the music, we should say,
It was a bit much.
yeah. I mean, I should say, just in all transparency, we added the music because the original music they had was just not as bouncy. All right.
As Zarif says, the Iranian foreign minister, he's like, it's the deal that nobody's happy with, and that's why it worked.